Oh, this is a video on healthy habits and hobbies for recovering addicts. So I'm 2 years sober. I just made a video about a message to other addicts or alcoholics. So that's my previous video. This video I'm going to talk about hobbies. So when you're a recovering addict, a lot of times people will say that they're really bored and they don't know what to do with their time. They don't know what they enjoy. They don't know how to occupy their days because they've been on drugs for so long. It's like the only way they could get through the day was to do drugs. They couldn't cope with whatever it was that was making them sad or depressed, so they would resort to drug abuse because they just couldn't cope with the hard things in life. So this is the part one. You have to be able to spend hours doing nothing. If you cannot spend hours upon hours by yourself, alone in a room, staring at a wall, essentially, you have to learn how to have that patience so you can process what it is that is bothering you. Meaning, essentially, just thinking for months upon months. But obviously, that's pretty painful to do. So you can make the weight on your mind lighter once you get sober with hobbies and a healthy lifestyle. So obviously eating healthy is important. Avoiding junk food, avoiding high sugar, high caffeine, just anything healthy. But there's also things you must do, like you have to have good hygiene. So when you wake up, this is if you have housing. If you're homeless, you really have to try and get housing and stay off of drugs if you're homeless. But I'm not saying all homeless people are on drugs. I'm just saying you have to do your best. I'm not certain what to say about homeless people. But if you have housing like me and you're in my position, what are some hobbies you can do? Well, before you start doing your hobbies, you should have good hygiene and you should have developed that patience so you can process the hard things you're going to encounter in your life or things you encountered before. You can think about how you behaved when you were an addict and how you behave now and how you are a lot healthier than you used to be. Because, like I said, humans are conscious animals. When you destroy your body with substances or alcohol, you're essentially destroying the body of a very weak animal. Humans are very weak animals. They cannot handle such severe doses of drugs or alcohol. And that's why your life was so miserable when you were doing drugs. But when you get sober, you can develop a system, a daily sort of system, where what I do is I wake up, I do smoke cigarettes. So when I wake up, I have a cigarette. But then I take a shower with shampoo and body wash so that I have good hygiene. Every single day I do this. And I make certain my room is orderly, organized, and clean. Of course, you have to do your laundry. You have to do your laundry as often as you need to. So I wake up, I take a shower, and then sometimes I shave, but actually I'm growing my mustache back because I said I would be a man now. But regarding hobbies you can do, well, one hobby that you can do is listening to music. It doesn't require you to really do anything, but it occupies your mind. When you listen to good music, it occupies your mind. So this can be music on a CD. This can be music of any kind on any kind of media. So music on Spotify, music on a CD. I have a small collection of jazz CDs in a box that I bought from a thrift store. So you can, if you don't have a lot of money, there are places you can go. I'm certain you know this if you were homeless. There are places you can go where you can get things very cheap or even for free, but I'm saying like you can get things for very cheap that you need. Like if you need clothes, you can get clothes for yourself. You need clothes, of course, but what I'm saying is I have a DVD player. I have a collection of many, many, many DVDs and a small collection of jazz CDs. So I like jazz music and other sorts of music, but we don't have to. This isn't a video about my music taste. Another hobby that I highly recommend for recovering addicts or alcoholics is reading. So I recommended this book before. The Narcotics Anonymous book. This is the 6th edition. I bought this on Amazon.com on Christmas. It's the Narcotics Anonymous book. I highly recommend any recovering addict read this book. I'm still not done with it. I'm actually not reading very much because I'm so preoccupied with smoking cigarettes that I don't read. And one more thing I want to say. Also, this is a tangent, but if you are a recovering addict, you cannot be California sober. You cannot smoke weed and be sober at the same time. If you are actively smoking marijuana, you are not sober. This isn't how we thought about it before, right? Because marijuana was illegal. People saw it as another drug. That's the way it's supposed to be seen. You cannot be sober and also be smoking weed. It's just not reality. I think cigarettes is not. I disagree with this. Cigarettes is not the same thing because you get absolutely no high from a cigarette. You just get a buzz. It's like a cup of coffee. But you cannot smoke weed and be sober. That's just not reality. But a cigarette is like a cup of coffee to me. So it really doesn't, it's not the same thing. But you can also learn about what you want to do. So there's all sorts of hobbies. All sorts of hobbies. Video games, let's say maybe when you were young you like video games. In this day and age, people love video games. There are video games. I recommend you get yourself a computer and an internet connection, and you can do research and learn things with the internet. A very powerful tool. A very powerful tool. A computer is a very powerful thing. Like when I got sober, I used Ableton Live 9 to produce a jazz album because I already knew some music theory. And it's on my Bandcamp. It's called Misinterpret Sacrifice. I mean, there are all sorts of things you can occupy your time with, and you just have to discover what those things are. Well, I guess I haven't named every hobby possible, but another thing, like I said in my last video, you might discover what you want to do with your life, but before we get to that, you might discover that you believe in God, and that you want to live in a sort of godlike kind of way, you know, doing the right thing, being a good person, because I'm certain when you were a drug addict, you felt like you were a terrible person, right? But now that you're sober, you can make the difference and become a good person. Like one of my hobbies that I like is computers. This is a computer textbook that I didn't completely read, but it's a computer textbook that I like. There's also just, you know, don't sweat the small stuff. People who do drugs, they do drugs often because they want to be cool, and then they think, wow, reading, listening to music, DVDs, CDs, that's not cool. That makes you a nerd, right? But that's just not true. It's actually perfect for your recovery, especially things like journaling. If you can sit there and commit to writing a journal entry once in a while, just, exploring your own thoughts so that you can process the trauma you've experienced in your life that made you abuse drugs, anything you can do, hours spent alone. I highly recommend spending a lot of time alone, because spending time alone is the best method that you can process yourself and learn about the world. Now, eventually, you'll be sober for so long that you might be like, maybe it's time for me to get a job so I can make some money. And then do things the right way. Pay your bills the right way. You know what I mean? For anyone who is selling, like, you can pay your bills the right way by getting a job. I highly recommend you learn about what you have to do in order to make that happen for yourself. Who knows, maybe someday you'll have your wonderful vehicle and your own apartment, a place you can live. You don't have to submit to failure forever. You don't have to submit to alcohol or drugs for the rest of your life. You can find healthy ways to cope with your mental illnesses that you developed by abusing drugs. In fact, you would have developed properly if you did not abuse drugs at all, but now you have a chance to start over essentially. What I'm saying is, you'll realize that life is a spiritual journey, and it's more about your hobbies and your lifestyle. You should also take walks. That's another hobby I forgot to recommend. But yes, it's about your hobbies and your lifestyle, the people who you associate with. You're no longer associating with other people who are actively abusing drugs. You are associating with healthy people who are sober and trying to do the best they can do. Also, one more thing, if you want to, I recommend you exercise. All sorts of things you can do to occupy your time. And you don't have to be perfect. It takes time to really develop a solid routine. But you will develop a solid routine. But hygiene is very important. That's probably the most important one. And eating healthy. So this is what I have to say for my fellow addicts or alcoholics who struggled with addiction but are now getting sober.